my video, to my radio.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the PixelCast. I am Jeremy Lessie, founder of PixelFest, and we are at the PixelFest Devs Meetup here in Keagan's in Virginia Beach, December 17th. This is our Christmas episode. Look, we've got some Christmas decorations up here, and I am joined today by AJ Comfort, who's a longtime developer, game dev. He has done an incredible amount of work, I think, both in games, how would you describe it? Just in software in general, and then he's also done a successful Kickstarter for, I think, what was maybe ultimately going to be a board game where they did miniatures, and he did all the lore for these, did the modeling, had them created out of pewter. So very interesting story. So how are you doing, AJ?
I'm doing good.
All right, I'm so glad that you decided to join us. We've got a good group around us here at Keagan's, and I just want to get a little bit more into AJ's story because to tell you the truth, I know that stuff, but I don't know AJ's whole history. And maybe my first question would be, did you start writing software? Did you start writing games first or software first, and then you were like, hey, let me check out game development?
Games first. I started off
There you go.
with
That's it. It's the path.
Started off with a Commodore 128 back in 1986.
Nice.
And that was back when manuals came with everything.
Yes.
So at the back of the manual of the Commodore 128 was how to program BASIC.
Very nice.
I created a simple...
In a book first.
Yeah. I created a simple game that, the psychic games where you try and hold up a card, see if the card has a square on it, a wiggly line, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was the first game I created in BASIC, was draw cards on the screen, and then, it'd be the blank side, and then you'd have to enter in what you thought that would be, choose from one of 4 or 5 different shapes, and then, it would remember your thing, it'd flip the card over, draw the shape, and then it would record your responses.
That's awesome. I love that. Do you still have a Commodore with that on it?
No.
So I started out with TI-85 calculator, and I still keep my calculators handy. I can reach for them and grab them and pull my first game out. I'm surprised. Do you have a backup copy of it somewhere? Anything? Nada?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Nope. That was way back then.
That's very cool though. That's a really neat game. So now, what was your path from that game? Did you like several games, and then did you go to school for computer science, or what was the deal?
From there, I went to playing Bard's Tale, the original Bard's Tale way back when. So then I started creating my own RPG system. I was also playing tabletop Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
So I tried to create Dungeons and Dragons on the computer, patterned after the original Bard's Tale game. Didn't worry anything about copyright, licensing, all that. Didn't exist in the 80s.
Right, yeah, you just wanted to get the logic and everything and just get your game dev chops going.
So I learned BASIC, and when that was drawing things on the screen too slow, I picked up assembly language for Commodore 128. Taught myself a little bit of that, don't remember any of it now. And then just kind of worked on a bunch of different things. I took a turn off into math. I'm really big into number theory. So prime numbers, factoring of prime numbers, cryptography, all that kind of stuff.
There's so many people that love to write code just to mess with prime numbers.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a huge field. That's a field all on its own. But
all on its own.
You were led to that by your passion for games though first.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about on every
episode.
episode.
I created the game first, and then was like, ooh, I could do math stuff with this.
Now what did that lead to any? Did that lead to any products or anything like that, or was that just just an interest? You just wanted to tinker with that stuff.
Just an interest. I created on almost every system I've owned. I've created a factoring program that would generate prime numbers, starting at 2 and then just going up forever, and then saving them. And then once you get a seed going, you can then use the prime numbers to discover more prime numbers. Right. And then just keep going and going.
What's the furthest out you've gone?
Probably in the octillion, nonillion. So if you go millions,
that's a big number.
Billions, trillions, quadrillions, quintillions, sextillions, septillions, octillions, nonillions, and then on up.
Wow.
There's more after that. There's decillion, undecillion, duodecillion, tridecillion.
Now, I'm trying to think the last time I spoke to somebody that was into that stuff. It's probably been 7 or 8 years. So what's like the world, where are we at in the world on that field? Like what is the furthest out that anybody has gone?
Oh, for prime numbers? Well, that, you would want to go to GIMPS, the Great Internet Mersenne Prime Search. Okay, and they have a program you can download onto
another beer, sir?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They have a program you can download onto your computer that will help you search for the largest known primes in the world.
Okay.
And the current one has hundreds of millions. No, it's not hundreds of millions. It's like tens of millions of digits.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's written out and each number was a one centimeter square, okay, on a normal 8.5 by 11 paper, the paper would reach from the surface of the Earth past the moon to print this number out.
It's incredible.
Okay, so that's the largest known prime number, and these numbers are a special case. I could go on forever about this.
Right.
But these are a special case. They're called Mersenne primes.
Okay.
They follow a very specific formula, and so they make them easy to search. It's 2 to a prime number,
Okay.
2 to the power of a prime number, and then all that minus 1.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 squared is 4, minus 1 is 3. Okay, 3 might be a Mersenne prime. In this case it is. And then 2 to the 5th, it would be 31. That's a Mersenne prime. 2 to the 7th is 62, 128, 127, which is, I believe, also a prime number.
How'd they get that
And then,
name? You say Mersenne?
Yes. Mersenne. It's a French name. It's
Okay.
actually a mathematician from the 17th century
Okay.
who identified these numbers as part of prime numbers. Because these numbers are a special case because they also happen to factor into what are called perfect numbers,
Right.
which have been known since antiquity.
Okay.
Greeks have known about perfect numbers forever.
When it kind of sounds like a way to find prime numbers, well, I don't know about easier, but
No, it's not a formula for prime numbers. It's a formula for specific prime numbers.
right. Okay.
Okay, the distribution of primes, as we know right now, is totally random.
Right.
Okay, we know there's an infinite number of them, but there's always going to be one out there.
Right.
Okay, and there could be what are called coprimes. So the least separation between any two primes could be as low as 2. Because obviously even numbers except for 2
Right.
can't be prime.
Right.
So you could have something ending in a 1 and a 3 and have millions of digits out in front of them, and they're just right next to each other. They could be co-primes.
Right.
And then it could go for another, several billion numbers before you find the next one.
That's very interesting. I find this stuff fascinating, and if you don't know, this has a lot to do with encryption.
Yes.
This is how our encryption works because it takes so long,
Yes.
if I remember correctly, to get to some of these numbers that we use this to create our encryption. Is it the curves? Is it?
What it is you take 2 really large prime numbers and multiply them together, and that forms part of the cryptography seed.
Right.
Okay? Because a computer, not going into the quantum computers, it takes time to process that.
That's
Unless
right.
you
That's
know
right.
exactly what those 2 numbers, those 2 factors are, it's going to take you forever.
Right.
Okay. Back in the 80s, using 80s technology, I tried to search for a factor of 2 to the 101 power minus 1.
Right.
It took, I never actually solved it at the time, but I had 28 max of the day running a specialized factoring program over a 72-hour period of time, still couldn't find it.
Right. And with encryption, with security, at some point, all we're talking about is what is the cost to crack some security, and what's the time factor, right? Because you can pretty much buy any amount of you can pretty much buy any amount of computing power. So you really want it to be something where you need an insane amount of computing power
Right.
or time to crack some number.
Exactly. Every cryptography will be cracked at some point in time. But how much time and energy and money do you throw at the problem?
That's right.
You can always fire up Amazon S3 and get a ton of computing power.
Yes.
But you also have to have the knowledge to say, how do I take this factoring problem and divide it across that pool of computers?
Yep.
That's not an easy problem
And
to
then
solve.
it's still going to be expensive
Yes.
to boot up a number of instances to crack something. So that's kind of how we get onto Bitcoin. Now, where did you go from primes and encryption? Where'd you go next?
Well, actually, I took a detour into the Navy.
Okay.
And learned electronics, because computers and electronics very close at the time.
Sure,
The
absolutely.
Navy didn't really have computer techs at the time. They had all very specialized computers. They hadn't bought into the home computer yet.
Okay.
But I still continued doing database development in the Navy. Taught myself Access, taught myself SQL Server from there, which allowed me to go out and get a job after the Navy.
Right on.
As a web developer.
Started as a game developer, though.
Started as a game developer. And always told myself that I would get back to game development, at some point.
Right.
And then I just followed the web development course and that for years. And probably in the last 2 years, I've really gotten serious again about getting back to game development.
Right on.
And I'm actually using the things I know to create what's called an idle incremental game.
Okay.
So they make use of very large numbers.
Ah.
So, I already know a lot about large numbers. And there's something mind-numbing about watching numbers tick up.
Right.
Maybe clicking a button to make them tick up faster.
Sure.
And so it's a mind-numbing thing, so it's a great idle waster to use on a cell phone.
So how's that specifically working gameplay-wise?
So gameplay-wise, what I have is I'm working on, in the universe I've created that I ran the Kickstarter on that you mentioned earlier. But what it is the game premise is you're an adventurer looking for 12 items that make up a suit of, not armor, but just a suit of items. So it could be armor, could be shields, could be swords, but there's 12 pieces to the entire set.
Okay.
So maybe set's a better term. And then what you have to do is you start off searching in the plains area, solving basically a quest or goal. You have to get so much income. Okay. You have to. It's hard to describe without actually a visual. Without an actual visual, but you do certain activities. Press the button, make the numbers go up, so you get amount of income. Okay, and then so once you get 5,000 income, that goal is achieved. You complete the quest. Then you get another one. You do it all over again. Now you may have a different quest.
Okay.
And then you can build up. Each time you complete one of these quests, you get a certain amount of research points available to you. So now you can go and optimize your building routines. So maybe rather than every time you click it, rather than getting 1 experience point, you would get 2 experience points.
Okay.
So you build up faster, allowing you to complete it faster.
It's like Chick-fil-A for me right now. I'm trying to get that red membership.
Right.
Where I get 12 points for every $1 spent.
So, and then after you complete 6 quests in the plains area, you get I should say, for each quest you complete in the plains area, you get a map fragment for a quest in the next higher area.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
For every 6 quests you complete in the plains, you would end up getting a full map of I think the next one is the rivers area. Okay, and then you can then do a rivers quest, and then completing that will give you 1 map fragment for the 3rd area.
Now, does it sort of go on infinitely? It's funny, like talking about prime numbers, talking about large numbers. You get this sense. You go back to like Elite, where there was a whole universe generated off a seed, or you look at something like No Man's Sky right now, where we've got 60. I forgot how many trillions of planets are in the game. You've got this. We've generated whole universes off of numbers.
All procedurally generated and just done.
So is there some element to that? Like, does it sort of go on forever, or is there an arc and a story that sort of goes along with the lore that you've built?
A true idle incremental can go on forever.
Okay.
Some of the newer ones have started incorporating stories.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do with mine, is incorporate a story.
Right. It makes sense because you've got so much lore. I mean, I was looking at the pictures of these characters. They're so detailed, and AJ and your wife,
and my wife, yes,
did a lot of the. I don't know if she did the art. Did she do illustrations?
She's doing the art now.
Okay.
Back then, she was just learning or reacquainting herself with art in general.
And then the writing, did you guys do that together, or you did all the writing? Okay, so an incredible amount of detail went into this, so it just seems like you could create a really rich lore around this idle incremental gameplay, and then it sort of ties the world building you've done with this big number stuff from like way back, but I mean, that's very cool.
And that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
The story premise is set in the same universe as our Kickstarter was based in, and we're using a lot of the same characters.
Right.
So it's basically the main character on the good side is a person called Minuet.
Okay.
And she's a sorceress. And the main person on the bad side is Grimtalk, who's more or less a fighter warrior. he wants to create basically a civil war and divide the set of nations that exist. Minuet wants to keep the nations together and maintain peace, prosperity,
Right.
very simple on that point. But they're basically at an impasse. No one side has more power than the other. They can't get ahead of each other.
Right.
But Minuet has learned that there's this suit or this set of materials that are ancient and can help her upset the balance in her favor.
Okay.
Grimtalk has also discovered it, but you're the adventurer for the Minuet side, and you need to find each of these 12 pieces.
Okay.
One piece in each of the 12 zones.
Got it.
And then once you finish it, go through all of it, and that could take a very long time, then you'd be able to finish the game.
Knowing about the numbers, knowing that there is an arc to it, are you designing the game to last a certain amount of time, or how does that work? Is it like, listen, we want 12 hours of gameplay, 100 hours of gameplay, whatever it is?
Not necessarily. I mean, idle incrementals are built for years of gameplay.
Okay.
Because really, the premise is you do something, there's a little bit of activity, whether it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes, but there's a set amount of interaction where you're spending resources you've gathered,
right,
and then you close it down.
Okay.
And that's the idle part.
It's almost like you throw the ball in space,
yeah,
and it goes for a certain distance, and then you pick it up again later on. Okay.
Yeah. And so you would just let it go. You could let it go for a week, running, and then you've built up all of this currency, research points, that you're going to spend on how to optimize the game running itself in the background.
Okay. Now, is this game then based on? Do you have a back end like server component to it, or is all the math? Is it sort of an extrapolation from where you left off, and it's all just processed right on the phone? It's a mobile game, right?
Well, I'll actually start on a PC game first.
Okay.
Because I'm more familiar with that technology base.
Right.
But since I'm using Unity, I could just easily port it to any of the mobile apps if I wanted to.
So then, is it single to that hardware, or is there a back-end component to it? And is there any?
Well, there will be a back-end component, but what I'm going to use is SQLite, which is just a flat file database component. Very popular on the mobile realm because you don't need an engine to run it like SQL Server. You have to have that engine,
right?
And that's cumbersome to put on a phone.
So this is a database that's going to run on the hardware that the game is installed on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it will just see it as a file, and then SQLite, the drivers for it will be incorporated in Unity, which will then go, oh, I know how to talk to that file,
right on,
and pull out the information from this table, that table, whatever. Save state
that's
to
very
that
cool.
file.
Now, and you were working on this game for a couple months. Yep. And you've been on pause a little bit.
Throughout the last 2 months,
life gets in the way a lot of times. And trust me, I know. Where are you at? Are you at?
I work at locally at Amera Group.
Okay.
Which is a Anthem-owned company.
Got it.
So Anthem, Amera Group,
doing database backend stuff, web stuff for them. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've seen that with all the interviews we've done. I mean, everybody's got a job in tech doing something, but everybody also started out making games first. And so I continue to just make the statement that all these folks have grown through their love of games. And I think everybody's come away with something good. Like, it's a good path to go in to game development. I can't express that enough, I don't think. I can't espouse it enough.
I think it's great. You learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of things I have to learn just to use Unity and create a really simple, idle, incremental game is just tremendous.
Yep.
And I'm not even doing anything fancy.
And you're constantly twisting your brain to come up with new innovative solutions and all that. And you really don't know when the magic's going to happen. You don't know exactly when something's just going to be like boom, and it could either be a commercial success for you. I mean, it could just be that next step in what you want and what you're ultimately trying to build. But it doesn't really matter. You're always sort of stepping up and stepping forward, and that's what I love about game development. So I love hearing stories like this.
I had one of those aha moments a month into really sitting down and doing this. Yep. So cracked open Unity, started the thing, started coding up things. I've been coding since I was 14.
Right.
That's over 30 years.
Good amount of time, yeah.
So I know how to write the code, but I don't know how it interacts with Unity that well. How to reference the objects and the other components.
I see
and all
that.
That.
Unity is a different animal. I see a lot of people, even people who are Microsoft.NET developers, will get Unity, but they won't understand how to use the mono behavior and how all that works. So they start writing their classes and everything like that. and then if I get some code from somebody, I'm like, this is a .NET developer, doesn't understand the way Unity is structured, and how simple the mono behavior makes everything. But it happens all the time.
So I created a couple of variables, and wanted to reference them in the class. I didn't make them private. I didn't make them public. I made them private but serializable, so I got that. But I never really figured out the referencing of things the right way. So I had it like 4 or 5 different ways in 4 or 5 different classes.
Oh, yeah.
And then a month later, I went back and started refactoring some of my older code based off just the things I'd learned in those 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, God. It was horrible.
It's tough coming up with the perfect structure for a Unity project. The way that I tend to lean is I like to use object orientation in my folder structure.
Yes.
And so what you'll find is, I will have a folder maybe called car, and then everything that goes with cars, whether it be 3D models, whether it be the script that runs it, whether it be the materials that go with it, everything goes with car. So this way, if somebody opens up the project, they just find this, it's all objects. Well, if I want to work on the car, I go in there. If I want to work on the driver, I go in there. If I want to work on the city, I go in there. And so that's to me, seems to be the easiest way. What you will see all the time with Unity examples, of course, is they break it up into the types of components that
Unity
I'm more
familiar with.
So usually you open up a project and you see scripts, materials, whatever the types
Audio.
of components. Yes.
Yep.
That doesn't really hold up for a big project though, because then you have a scripts folder with 1,000 scripts in it or whatever, and there's no organization to it whatsoever. So
I've created subfolders in it.
Yeah.
So with my .NET background, I created a class, not a mono behavior class, but just a class for each quest.
Right.
Okay, and it has all the base stuff in it, and then I've derived a class for each one of the specific zones. So there's a plains quest, there's a rivers quest.
Okay.
That way I can customize each of the encounters that are in it.
Right.
But I still have all that base logic from quest.
Nice.
Now this
Very
is
nice.
all non-mono behavior.
Right.
And so this is one of the
This is your
things,
data going on in the background, more or less. Yeah.
This was one of the things where my naming didn't work out so well, because I also have a visual game object quest class.
Ah, yes.
And then I have a quest class that's a non-mono behavior object.
Okay.
So now I got to put the two together because they talk to each other.
That's right.
One's running the game loop, one is just storing the data.
Yep.
But they're both quests. So I have all sorts of weird hodgepodge things. I have a working quest, I have an active quest. So now I have to keep track of all these different,
The other way that I go with it as well is if I do have to make that type of, if I have to break stuff up like that, then I might have quest be the main class, and then I might have quest and whatever the extension of that is.
Right.
Everything's a quest, and then everything has some sort of qualifier afterwards.
Yep.
And that helps a little bit, especially if you're doing a search by alphabetical order or something like that. All the quests will come up, and then you can see it in a list. If you put sort of the adjective first, then of course it doesn't work without alphabetical order. So when you search, it's a nightmare. There's a lot of tips and tricks with Unity, I think, to make a really efficient project. Something that's, you have some multi-gigabyte project, or even larger. I'm sure other people have terabyte projects out there. In order to keep that organized, I think that's somebody could write a whole book.
Yes.
I think on just that subject with Unity alone.
Yep. That's one of the things. I sometimes get stuck in research mode.
Yep.
Before I spent months researching Unity, researching how to set up projects without ever actually cracking the application open. And it's like, all right, enough of this, done. And I still sometimes find myself falling back to that trap.
Yeah.
Because I have so little time right now.
It's a deep rabbit hole. You can, at this point, read for
Yeah,
your whole life about Unity.
Because everyone's going to have their own opinion.
Oh, yes,
no, you
that
should
too.
do it this way. No, you should do it this way. Oh, no, you should do it this way.
For sure.
And then I tend to take those three different ideas, that I just saw, and then merge them together.
Right. Yep.
And then you can never find examples that follow that because you've created your own system.
Yeah, you just it's your own amalgamation.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I'm glad to hear. I love hearing this whole arc of your career and how you started with these games on a Commodore. That's what I said. Did you ever have an Apple II?
Nope.
Okay. I still want to go back and get an Apple II.
Now I went. All my buddies at the time had Commodores.
Right.
They had 64s.
Okay.
The 128 had just come out, and this was going to be a Christmas gift.
Yeah, the
so,
best, the
yeah,
new
my
kid
mom
on the
was like,
block
"What?"
with the best machine.
Yeah, she had no clue. She was like, "What do you want?" That one.
Very
So
nice. Very
I
nice.
used it in
That's
the
awesome.
C64 mode more often than anything else.
Okay.
But the games I created
I wanted a
were in
Commodore
128.
64 so bad. I didn't get a PC until
I'm heading out for the night. Do you guys mind if I bring you a check?
You're good.
There's
That'll work.
I'll be taken care of.
Yeah,
Right?
thanks.
Great.
I got my first PC was a 486 DX 33 megahertz. I think it had I'm trying to think here, megabytes of RAM and maybe 768 megabytes of hard disk. That was my first PC. I wanted a computer forever, and my parents just wouldn't crack. And you're gonna have to come into the conversation here. You can't listen.
You can't sit on that
Woody,
side of the table.
You got to get on the bench
gotta
over
come
here,
over.
man. You got to come on over.
Well, you guys are still
Come on.
going.
We're rolling, man. See, somebody else is gonna have to jump in here. So here we have John Woody. We call his nickname is Woody.
Woody.
All right. So Woody, how did you? Then you and I have worked together a decent amount on actually more utilitarian projects. So I did some stuff. We did some stuff for Mosquito Joe. That's going back like 5 years ago, four or 5 years ago. Did some cool stuff for them. That's a local startup that was actually sold to a company in Texas. And we did some cool.
They're
like,
still around though, right? That's
oh yeah, the
Mosquito
company.
Joe.
Well, now that company has become Buzz Franchises, and so they have Pool Scouts. But they sold the Mosquito Joe component successfully to a company in Texas, which is pretty cool. So now we did some of that, but we came together. We probably met at Zach's place
Right,
through Hatch. That's probably where we met.
Yeah.
But then of course Woody's interested in game development as well. Now did you start making games initially? Thank you.
I started making games back in the late 90s. In 98, I discovered Flash
Nice.
because I wanted to animate.
Right.
Right, so then I found out you could program in that. So I started making games.
Good old action script, right?
Oh, Action Script 1. It was barely a programming language. It was like Python.
Right.
Yeah, and so that landed me a job at CBN for a while. My first job there was making games based on the animation characters from their animated series.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Very, very
so
cool.
I had like a Spunky game, a Storyteller game, which is like Toy Story ripoff, and
Now, I didn't know any of that before.
Yeah,
That's all very cool stuff.
and then
That's cool.
then Superbook. So I've done maybe 10 games for CBN. I was just trying to find them. They've taken them all off. the
Oh
website.
no! Do you have them backed up anywhere? I'd love
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Okay,
I
I've got to
do.
see those, man. I'd get a kick out of that.
Most browsers you can't even see them because of Flash. But
You go back and install it on some old machine or whatever. I still have in my attic. I still have all these old computers. I mean, you go to my attic. There's like a dozen machines up there.
yeah, I wish I would have kept my old one.
I keep them. I keep everything.
You guys were talking about old computers. My first computer was pre-286.
Oh, nice.
Back when the Macintosh was out.
Okay.
And PC desktops were just coming out.
Right.
So I remember playing games on it when I was a kid, and I was so excited when I found the switch on the back that went from 4 hertz to 8 hertz. And my
Turbo
games were
boost.
twice as fast.
Yeah.
Not megahertz.
Can't even control the games anymore.
They were hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's old school.
Yeah, definitely, man. Now, have you gotten into Unity at all, or?
I've done some tutorials and did some 3D animations. I planned a game for my bakery butler
Oh yeah,
business.
yeah.
I had this whole 2D game mapped out. And
Was that going to like train you to use Bakery Butler, which was,
It was-
I think like a if I remember correctly, it was basically you wanted to keep your supplies in check for your bakery, right? Like
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like a okay.
That was part of it, but it was an onboarding or order taking system for bakeries.
Right.
And it was basically going to show the effectiveness of the software
Okay.
in game form.
Yeah.
But
Twilio has an awesome game. I'm a big fan of Twilio, and they have a great game that trains you how to like use all their software and everything. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen that, you guys know what Twilio is?
Twilio, no.
Twilio, it's like it's basically a platform to support platforms. So Uber is powered by Twilio, Facebook Messenger is powered by Twilio. So it's like a back-end messaging API. So all sorts of stuff. It can do robocalls. It can send messages. It can handle any of that type of stuff. It'll do what's it called, WebRTC, any of that. So it's pretty awesome. And they have a game, like an RPG style game, to train you on their APIs, which is pretty cool.
So for that game, I got bogged down in the animation part because
Okay.
I'm an animator
Right.
at heart.
That's right. That's right.
So I spent 3 or 4 weeks.
You're a pretty good coder too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, thank you. I spent a few weeks perfecting the run cycle,
Okay.
and then I got it where I brought it into Unity. I could run back and forth and jump, and that's as far as I got with the game.
Right on. Right on. All right.
But we were just recently talking about doing something in the new year.
Yes.
Doing a project where we could
You
get
have to
together
do it.
a couple times a month, work on Trello, work independently,
Yeah,
but get together.
definitely.
Just pick some game idea and start
Might have to
working
do
on
like a
it.
New Year jam, something like that. New Year's jam.
That'd be cool.
kind of cool. One thing I want to do is we're at a devs meetup now, and obviously we've been doing the PixelCast. This is episode 16, so we've been doing this for 4 months, and we've been doing the PixelFest Devs meetup every month. But I want to add more to that. I think we need more game jams and more boot camps. So boot camps for the new people, game jams to motivate people that already have the skill set. And people like AJ and Woody here already have the skill set. They're just looking for a good reason to like jump in and like make something,
That's funny because we talked about that on the drive here.
Yeah.
Something to do in the new year is doing like more meetups, not necessarily in this style where we get around and we kind of just talk about stuff, but do a coding night.
Yes,
Or do an
definitely.
animating night. Or
Something
do
more
a
actionable.
A project night where it's like, all right, this is the project for the night. At the end of the night, we're all going to show what we did. Break up into groups and go.
As you can see, at Devs Meetup, we're out. We've got drinks. We're just socializing. We'll talk about ideas or whatever. Obviously, we record an episode of the PixelCast and we do it now, but we were talking for a solid hour before that, just networking and everything like that. But there's other components to building the community and through growing through love of games.
Yeah.
Basically, you need the game jams, you need the boot camps, all that type of stuff. Some sort of project base, like, hey, let's get together. And it's amazing because you can build something so quickly. You don't realize it if you can scope it properly.
Right.
And you'll notice that intro for what we have for the PixelCast now. That's just me playing the PixelFest game that we put in the app the very first year when we did the pre-jam. And so we made that game in 4 hours, and it was, I think, actually a pretty impressive game for 4 hours. Other people, years later, they tried to match or do some sort of small mini game in 4 hours. I don't think anybody was successful at that. And to get something that has a beginning and a middle and an end, and the whole thing wraps up, and do it in 4 hours is very tricky. But it's possible. You can do it. So you can add value that way. But yeah, so it was really good talking to you guys. I'm not sure, Josh. Are you looking to show Bouncy Bear? Are you looking to talk Bouncy Bear? Are you trying to come back?
Where?
Are you trying to come back on the PixelCast?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah, we'll give a little demo.
All right, so a couple of months ago, we talked to Joshua Jané about Bouncy Bear. He had it on mobile, and I think he's got to build, I think you could hear those sound effects in the background, some sort of bouncy sound effect. And I'm pretty sure that was the game. So we are going to talk to him in just a moment.
Do you need any change?
No, you're good to go. Thank you. So it's great to talk to new folks. I'm so glad I got to talk to AJ and I got to talk to Woody tonight. But it's also good to follow up some old friends. So
How's it
Josh,
going? How's
it's
it
been
going?
2 months and Josh has been on the show.
Yeah.
And he's got so here we go.
Oh, that's a little.
There you go. Oh, you can see it like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is the 2.5D Bouncy Bear that we have been talking about. This has been.
Very okay.
We've been waiting for this on the show, Josh.
Yeah.
People have been just like salivating for this
So
game.
life gets in the way for a lot of things. So we're getting the snowball rolling right now. So you can kind
Oh,
of.
I like the look, man. I like the rolling hills in the background.
Yeah. So you can kind of see we're moving into this 3D realm. Obviously, you're still in this plane of where you're playing. So your character is only going to be in a two-dimensional position of X and Y. So that's why
2.5D.
So that's why it's
what we call
2.5D,
this,
right. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen like on Xbox 360 the game called Trials, 2.5D where you play on this like motocross bike and it's a balancing physics act and you have to get over obstacles.
Right.
Kind of in that sense of the 2.5D is very similar with that. So you use 3D objects, but you're kind of working on a 2D plane. So I'm gonna see if I can angle it so people can see.
Do you want me to hold the computer again? Like we should do that faster this time.
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
time I let Josh struggle with the phone.
Right.
I was just.
Well,
I wasn't doing it. I'm sitting here. I'm like.
I'm gonna hold it.
I should
I'm
probably
gonna
help
hold
you.
it, and you're gonna play.
Oh, I'm gonna play. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet, awesome.
Alright, so you're gonna have to hit launch, and then 1 and 2 is your buttons that you're gonna play. Your plus.
Boom! Oh, look at that! I love
Alright,
it. Oh,
so
1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
Boom! Oh, there's the squeaky. Oh, look at the bear.
So
He looks like one of those little.
We have the mechanics working of the mushrooms.
Wait.
Those are the pink things right there.
What does 2 do? Use my.
Two.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Use my
So,
power up. There's a missing material there. It's pink.
Yeah. So a lot of our models are primitive. So
Boom!
now you have a
Boom!
protective ball.
Boom!
You have a protective ball. You can use that. Let's do.
Roll, buddy, roll. Get it. Oh man, I love the way those backgrounds look though.
Yeah. So
It adds so much to have that 3D background.
Yeah. So it's not.
Go.
Basically, if you played our previous one,
There's no ragdoll physics though. We're the ragdolls. We're the ragdoll physics.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So we're basically getting through the hurdles of porting over everything that is working in the 2D version, and we're trying to port it over into a 3D world. There's a lot of things that are similar in that sense that are very easy with Unity to bring over. So you'd be like, okay, this is using a Vector 2, and it's actually not using any of the Z when we bring it over to the Vector 3.
Sure.
But there's also some things, especially like the physics of 2D, completely different from physics in 3D. So we had to get through some hurdles there as well.
So you were using the 2D physics engine, which I believe in Unity now is box 2D physics, right? And now Unity was using PhysX, but they recently also started using Havok physics.
Yeah,
so
Havok is one of the.
Are you using Havok or are you using PhysX for this? NVIDIA PhysX.
Whichever I believe is the default one for the current version we're using right now. So I don't know when Havok is being.
I need to
the
check
more
that out.
default.
I haven't looked lately.
So
okay.
I think they're going to switch over to Havok. From future default.
Man.
I don't want to quote on anything because I don't know the exact details, but
I hope it doesn't change
whichever
things.
the default is for 2019 .4.3 or the way we're using.
You want to know what made me decide to use Unity?
What?
So back in 2008,
Yeah.
I was prototyping a game called Debris.
Okay.
I invented, by the way, the building demolition genre of games with Debris. Nobody knows about it because it was a sucky game, but I definitely invented that. Somebody else came behind me.
It was because I didn't know about it.
Somebody else came behind me and made a much better version of the building demolition game where you place the bombs on the building and then you push the plunger to blow it up.
Right.
Anyway, the reason that I chose Unity, though, is because the physics engine, and they were using NVIDIA PhysX, was deterministic. Or it was very close to deterministic. It was like 90% deterministic. So I was prototyping the game with Torque 2D, with Unity, and then I was also prototyping it with something called Shiva. And each of them had a physics engine, but Unity was the only one where I could put the bombs in one spot, push the plunger, and have the building blow up the same way almost every time. It was 18 out of 20 times it would blow up the same way, and then 2 out of 20 times it wouldn't, but I forgave him for that. It was acceptable. It was acceptable. It was good enough for me to make the game.
Good odds, right?
So I'm a little worried about them actually switching physics engines over to Havok because if it's... We'll see. Hopefully it's deterministic as well. Maybe even more. If it's 20 out of 20, I'll be happy.
Yeah. There's definitely... I remember, I think it was last year, I saw some things that Havok was doing, and they were doing some phenomenal work in physics, Like, they're between, I think, physics and the dot system that the Unity's been doing, like, you can have, like, just millions of instanced type of physics-based
like rigid bodies, like
rigid
bouncing
bodies,
all over the place.
just bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, well, you know, if it's not deterministic, I hope we still have access to physics. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
That's because deterministic physics in computer science. That's a very, and I don't know if you know anything about this, AJ, but that is a tough subject to make sure that when you place everything in the same position and you cause the same action, the same reactions, everything plays out the exact same way.
Right.
That's deterministic physics, and that's actually a tricky thing in computer science. So this is very cool. I'm so glad to see that you guys.
So we have a current bug right now in 3D. It's the friction right now is basically not there. So this guy keeps on rolling
forever.
He's been rolling the whole time.
I like the 3D bear. He doesn't have ragdoll physics yet, but he definitely looks very cool.
Yeah. So
and
we're definitely.
He looks like he's in more pain as he's rolling right now. So I'm that's more entertaining.
Yeah. So we're and
that's so terrible. I feel bad saying that, but. He actually looks like one of those bears.
We're gonna get it to where it tiles very well as well. So we're gonna bring it over. Yeah, so it's gonna be really awesome because based on the distance of the 3D world, also it kind of gives a little natural parallax effect.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why they had to do that for 2D because that wasn't actually apparent.
Right. You had to make one background scroll slower than the other.
Yeah. So you don't have that depth. So you lose that natural.
Now here here it's infinite because it's the whole plane of the geometry as it goes by.
Exactly,
it's a very convincing effect. I like it.
And so we're gonna add a lot of
who built the 3D background here? Is that something that you all built custom?
The model or the actual placing of the objects.
Okay. So are these?
I'm the level designer, but I'm not the 3D model.
Who modeled it? And then somebody modeled it. So Derek modeled it. Hey, look, Derek's back.
Scoot.
Now these guys were separate when we interviewed them last time, but
we're together now.
They're both working for Just Bear Games on Bouncy Bear. and they're here together tonight. They
Sorry,
both made it
Connor,
out.
cheating
It's
on
amazing. We lucked out. We have them both.
Yeah.
And,
soon we'll get all three of us in one video.
That's right.
Yeah. We'll have to like move you outside because we're three
all right,
people.
there you go. You all just talk about your game.
we'll
You
move
just
the-
hear my voice.
Yeah, no.
I'll sit behind them. We got to get Sam. Sam, where are you, man? You got to come out to a PixelFest Devs meetup.
Hey, Derek, where can they follow some more updates on us?
So
Can we
we're
plug
on
right now? We're
Twitter,
plugging.
we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook.
Like twitter.com/justbeargames or /Bouncy Bear or what is it?
Yeah. Just Bear Games, you'd be able to find us pretty much.
All right.
everywhere. Yes.
Just Bear Games. There's no other Just Bear Games. Just Bear Games.
BARE, by the way.
Yeah, bear like you're naked.
Yeah. So we're starting with the bear.
But all the
minimum.
games have bears in them.
That's true.
BEAR.
Yeah.
You know, like the
We keep it confusing
Speaking
for our
of
audience.
basket, the boo boo.
No, yeah, it's a fun thing to have built one project, and even like on 2 dimensions, and then also bring it to that 3rd dimension, bring that to that next.
Did I already
level.
ask you this? Now, how much you were saying that some of the code is compatible? Like, are you using the identical components to drive the gameplay here for the most part?
So
Because
yeah.
you were saying like, well, we were using Vector 2 to do most of our math, and the game is still 2-dimensional gameplay. So
Correct.
Are you able to drag and drop the same component like
Yeah,
on the
so-
bear? Like when you launch the bear, is that
There
For
was
some things,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
It was basically I would say close around 50-50.
right?
in
You
that
just
sense.
replace the graphics and unclick the 2D button in Unity, and like boom, now we've got 3D
Yeah,
graphics.
yeah. So
Okay.
we built a 3D project for Unity, and then we looked at all of our coding, and we're like, okay,
Okay, so it
we
is a separate
port this
project.
over?
Separate project.
Yes, separate
okay.
projects completely. So I don't know if there's any. I don't have to look at it, but if there's any back-end stuff when it comes to building a new project, set up template-wise for 3D.
Now, do you plan to merge these two these 2 levels together into the same app at some point? Because then you'll have to merge projects to build out one app, right?
Right. Right now, our plan is to kind of keep them isolated.
Okay, so you're gonna have a Bouncy Bear 2.5 or whatever.
Correct. Yep. So we'll have
Your
we'll have
appropriate
2
name for it. It's 2.5D.
Yeah, 2.5D. We have. There we go.
We have
Still
a lot
going.
of-
You got a kite
Still going.
without a material.
Yeah.
The pink material.
We'll restart. We'll do a restart.
So Derek,
Let
you
me-
modeled everything, and then
Not
and then
everything.
Josh, you actually placed everything in the background and did the layout of all
Yeah.
that.
So I
which is super cool.
kind of did like a quick idea. So just so I can explain it a little bit, you can see it. You got the big gray area right over here. This is basically the mountainous rock area. There's going to be a cave here. That's the bear cave, and then it's basically in the forest area, the hills and forest area. There's going to be a lot of more trees. There's going to be trunks. There's going to be twigs, mushrooms in the background, foliage. ferns.
What about people that are having picnics, like screaming as the bear goes by?
That'd be awesome.
Uh-oh, I'm running low on battery.
Oh no. Okay. All right. We're gonna-
Joseph, come on in, man. We got Joseph Musso is here
Yep, okay.
again.
So thank you
I
guys.
wanna pull him in.
Appreciate it. Follow us more on Just Great Games. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Bye. See you.
Cutting it close here. Yo, what's up? Joseph Musso is back with Santa's Sacrilegious arcade action. I remembered it. Unbelievable. I can't believe I remembered the title. The Metal Gear reference really helps.
Yeah.
I think, tactical espionage action. Is that what it was? I think that's what it was.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna run out of battery here pretty soon unless I can pull my charger out. Like last time, every time we talk, I gotta charge the machine.
Yeah. Well.
But you had a video of Santa, and it's Christmas, so we saved you for last in the spirit of the holidays for Santa's Sacrilegious arcade action.
It's not ready. Oh.
It's okay. There's like we have 10% battery left.
All right, so the newest play video I got is this.
Let's check it out. Let's see if we can get this thing to render. So you're gonna have to angle it a certain way. Oh, there you go. There you go. Get that music going, man. Get that music going. He's got much better music. Actually, y'all have never seen this, but the original prototype that we did.
So wait,
I picked
that's the mic, right?
That's the mic. I put some. It'll pick it up. It's a decent mic. I picked this thing up at Walmart. It's not bad. So this game is progressing big time. Joseph has added animations for the reindeer. As you can see, the little legs are going there. He's gotten parallax, and he's actually changed all those buildings. So he gave me some graphics, and I helped him get a prototype up and running. You can see that interpolation on the reindeer. So it looks like is it Prancer? Or is it Rudolph? Who's going to be driving the sleigh? I
don't know.
You going to get Rudolph out there? You going to get the red nose?
There's going to be a light bulb power up.
Okay, light bulb power up. So and what will that do?
So that gives you like you know when Cyclops takes off his visor, it's just like death.
Okay,
For
perfect.
like 5 seconds, it'll be just uncontrolled red death.
Yes, I love it. That is awesome. So, and I'm glad to see the progress on the game. I think it looks a lot better. The buildings are really popping out. You got the colors just right. I think we put something together. It was a little bit dark at first. There wasn't enough contrast, but you got tons of contrast. You have like 3 or 4 layers of parallax in there.
So there's the foreground buildings behind them, and those are like enemy habitable.
Okay.
Then there's just a building background, and then there's just a solid color background.
Right. Yeah,
So
I noticed that. A lot of parallax going on there, which I love parallax scrolling still. I'm
YouTube.
a child of I'm really the 8-bit generation. The first time that I saw parallax scrolling was on TurboGrafx 16. I actually had gotten invited in a mall in Pennsylvania to sit down and play test some games. I guess they were doing market research. And I played Ninja Spirit, I think, on the TG16. Might have been the first game that I saw. And parallax scrolling just blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. I'd gone from playing NES games to seeing, and it just looks so 3D to me.
See, that's where I'm
And I still love it whenever I see it.
That's where I'm a little too young. I don't remember parallax, but I remember people talking about when Voltron came out. It was the first animated show to be done in stereo.
Ah, okay.
So everyone was talking about how the sound would just warp you left to right.
Right. I need to go back and watch some Voltron. I love that show. I had the toy, the giant robot, the metal one. I had the metal one.
Did you have the one where the people fit into the tiger, or is it you just had the little people and then the metal robot?
I was spoiled at that point in my life. I had both.
Oh, you lucky.
Today's word is opportunity.
Going back, yes, I was lucky. That was a good period. I had the toys at that time.
Way better than Thundercats.
I like Thundercats too, but the toys weren't that great. You know what the most disappointing toys in the world were? Silverhawks.
They were.
You remember Silverhawks?
They were space Thundercats.
Yeah, they were space Thundercats that were birds, but the toys, you hit the button and the arms would just come up, and then you could fly, but there was no motion to the arms. You couldn't do anything else, so they pop the wings up.
Like the cartoon, disappointing.
Oh, I hated that. There's a whole show called The Toys That Made Us.
The next time I was that disappointed was Halo 2.
Halo 2 with the toys?
Yeah, Halo 2 with the minimal field of view. Like Halo 1, you got a field of view like this. Halo 2, it's like you got blinders on like a racehorse.
I didn't even notice.
Horrible. Let me start on Halo 2. You can't turn the flashlight on whenever you want.
I don't know, man. Halo 2
We're gonna have to debate this later on.
Halo 2 is kind of awesome.
Yeah, it was all right.
Well, did you notice that in Halo 1, the reticule's dead center of the screen?
Okay.
But to give the game a more epic, expansive feel, they had it to about 1/3 from the bottom in Halo 2 and beyond. So you actually got to see more of the upper parts of the game.
There's no enemies up there,
But there's a lot of cool stuff.
And also, you have to realize that in Halo 2, how many times did you just walk off the edge of a platform because you couldn't see the floor? Because you were looking, I guess, at all that stuff up there.
Maybe you're just bad at the game.
Yeah. Could be. I was very good at Halo 1. I was all right at Halo 2, but I just freaked out when I got that game. I waited up till midnight, got the game, brought it home, immediately shut it off. So disappointed.
What was it like when you got to the end for you?
Of Halo 1 or 2?
2.
Well, Halo 2, because I had that experience of buying the game. I waited up till midnight, bought it, played it for like an hour, and just shut it off for months.
Oh.
And I finally picked it back up and decided it was okay, beat the game, and I don't remember the ending. I don't remember anything about it except for the fact that I hated it the first time I played it. I was so disappointed.
Huh. I felt that way about Eva Mendes. But then I really like her now. No, so in Halo 1, when Master Chief takes off his helmet, you don't get to see his face, and it's like, all right, conclusion to the story, great.
Right.
But in Halo 2, everything's ramping up. He's on this arc thing coming back from the Earth.
Right.
And Lord Hood's like, Spartan, one more time, what are you doing on that ship? And Chief's like, we're here to finish the fight. And I'm like, I don't care. The game's like 15 years old.
It's old. Right. It is. It's literally 15 years
and
old.
I hated Xbox.
Right.
I was like, Xbox is garbage. Halo's stupid. Only idiots play stupid. And then there was a Halo 3 tournament.
Watching the battery go down here.
There was a tournament to win Halo 3, but you played Halo 2 to do it. And this was at my community college.
Ah, okay.
And I played a LAN party for the first time. I was like, all right, maybe I was wrong about Halo. This is awesome.
Yes, Halo is sweet.
What's your power at?
There you go. We got this conversation's too good. We gotta keep it going.
You gotta keep up with the Halo.
Power. Josh to the rescue. I have the power. Oh.
Your Lino?
Oh, what do you need?
Or no, He-Man.
Do you have a USB version somehow?
I
think we're just gonna have to cut the show a little short. We're gonna have to talk next time.
Where we at?
We're gonna have to talk in January. Third. So here's the deal. We're gonna have to cut the short and talk more about Halo 2 later, because otherwise we're probably gonna lose the whole video. But basically, you got to come out to PixelFest Devs Meetup. The next one will be the third Tuesday of January. So it's the third Tuesday of every month, and we rotate: Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Hampton, some place on the other side. It might be Newport News. We'll see. But basically, we go Beach, Norfolk, Hampton, Beach, Norfolk, Hampton, Beach, Norfolk, Hampton. So next month in January, we should be at Circuit Social. That's where I think we're gonna do it.
15th.
So, the 15th of January. Thank you for looking that up, Joseph. So come on out, because we have great people, great discussions. You're going to learn a lot, and you are going to continue to grow through love of games. So thanks for everybody that got on the show this week. We had a lot of people, so it was, I think, more entertaining than even in the past. You all have a good night.